Good afternoon, June 14th, 2024. This is racing heart material for any weather enthusiast, and it's taking the form of a heat dome. It's got to be one of the most powerful heat domes to ever hit the United States, especially this far north. It's almost hard to believe. Okay, we'll start off on Sunday. It's not hard to believe yet, but it's a strong heat dome of 593 decimeter that gets centered around northern Georgia. Many people claim that it has to hit 594 decimeters before you get into triple-digit heat, but there's big questions on that. There's plenty of heat domes that are nowhere near 594 decimeters. This heat dome brings the first day of its heat wave to Detroit, Michigan, with the possibility of thunderstorms, even heavy rain, as they reside along the northern edge, the ring of fire, the northern edge of this dome of heat. Those upper 80s to low 90s for forecast highs for Detroit, Michigan really take off for the rest of the week. They really skyrocket. And so does this heat dome as it intensifies to 597 decimeters as it continues to move north-northeast. But it doesn't stop there. It continues intensifying to a level that we saw last summer around Phoenix, Arizona, to 600 decimeters. These are heights that are at the 500 MB level of the atmosphere. Heat expands, and it's going all the way up, well into the upper atmosphere. That it hits 600 decimeters as it moves over Manhattan and Long Island. This is where the heat maximizes. This is where the heat dome maximizes. There is an eastward translation of this heat dome, which many times means temperatures gradually trend downward as things move east, but this heat dome intensifies as it moves east. As a result, extremely high temperatures are forecasted for the United States anywhere within this heat dome. High temperatures well into the 90s for almost everywhere. And if forecasts which are not calling for highs in the 90s need a very powerful defense for this one, to assume highs will be in the triple digits, widespread triple digits, is very reasonable at this point. And forecasts which are not calling for triple digit highs along the East Coast also would require a major defense. Some things which perhaps could prevent triple digit heat from developing perhaps would be a sea breeze. You have to look more into that, or if you're along the northern edge. This ridge extends all the way upward to 60 degrees north latitude, extending into the Northwest Territories of Canada. So many weather enthusiasts will get racing hearts from tornadoes, snowstorms, and other types of major weather events. It's not as common to get such a result from a heat dome, but heat domes of this magnitude are such a rarity. The Detroit National Weather Service informs us that this is in the 99th percentile of heat domes for the Detroit, Michigan area, and I would imagine it's been a long time since anything of this nature has hit the East Coast, probably going back to the year 2012. You probably have to go back to that year before you find anything similar. Triple-digit heat is likely to develop across Baltimore. Forecasts are not 100% parallel with this yet. Expert forecasts continue to advertise highs in the 90s with the possibility of triple-digit heat, but realize that this heat dome fully is capable of producing triple-digit heat, even widespread triple-digit heat. Dew points will be another factor which would ultimately determine what the high temperatures are. Here's something very important to point out, especially because the cities which are being affected by this heat rarely receive temperatures this high. The National Weather Service is talking about 10 mile-per-hour winds, which they're speaking about, they imply might make the situation feel cooler in Detroit, Michigan. Well, here's the thing. It's important to point out that once temperatures hit 95 degrees or higher, wind actually makes the temperature feel hotter. So we're dealing with something very intense. These types of breezes might make the temperatures feel a little bit cooler in the morning, but by the time you hit the afternoon, forecast highs, expert forecasts are calling for highs in the upper 90s, and the city areas around Detroit, highs well into the mid-90s in some of the rural areas. But either way, we're talking about highs reaching 95 degrees. For those of you that are into the Celsius system, we're talking about highs of 35 degrees Celsius, and the rural areas, temperatures going up to about 37 degrees Celsius, 36 or 37 degrees Celsius for Detroit, Michigan. But clearly it's capable of reaching highs of 38 degrees Celsius. That's clearly a possibility. And as we showed a couple days ago, the screenshot of the European computer model showing widespread hundreds all across the East Coast. Again, if you look at the wind flow, you do notice a sea breeze, but that has to be looked into again, and one has to wonder what type of impact that's going to have on the surface temperatures. But either way, intense heat is forecasted to happen. The Detroit, Michigan National Weather Service tells us that excessive heat watches and excessive heat warnings are likely to be issued. In addition, this is also an extended heat spell for a very large part of the country, and it's happening at the same time that another heat dome is taking place in the desert Southwest and affecting much of the West Coast. At this point, there is not time to get into international weather and other heat domes which are developing but across the world, but there clearly is other heat domes developing, and as we pointed out in the past, one of them is even affecting the Arctic, be it not as strong, with highs in the mid-80s to upper 80s, around 30 degrees Celsius or so, but that's also strong enough to produce heat advisories for areas where that's occurring up at 70 degrees north latitude. Stay safe, have a wonderful day. I wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and have a wonderful Shabbos. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We have a powerhouse typhoon which has developed off in the Pacific Ocean. Extreme heat continues over the desert Southwest. A big shockaroo to many of you. This is especially true in regards to what's going to be going on in Alaska. We have parts of the world that are so hot right now. Temperatures are expected to go into the low 130s. What also makes the situation absolutely spectacular over there is the enormous differences between night and day. We have a remarkable weather pattern change that's going to be taking place over the next few days. We're going from one extreme to the next extreme. Small soft hail is falling with the storm. There is a possibility that snow squalls may develop. 27.1 barometric pressure. Feet of snow are falling in Japan when there's intense weather. That's a time of celebration. Just Google weather with enthusiasm and they're all going to come up.